Hey house guests, welcome to today's Big Brother 21 updates and spoilers. Our house guests of the day are Christina Dune, Charlie Arrigo, and Michelle Edwards. Christina, thank you so much for all of the goodies from New Zealand. I'm so excited to try them out. That was super sweet of you. And thank you, Charlie and Michelle, for the beautiful cards. You guys are awesome. So thank you again so much, you guys. We could not do this without your support. And if you guys want to be house guests of the day like Christina, Charlie, or Michelle, check out our Patreon link in the info box below or send us some mail. Okay, so last night, Nick was evicted by a vote of 5-0, and he was sent to the jury house. So there wasn't some last, final prank week twist where nobody was going home. He is going to the jury house. So we also found out that next week there will be a double eviction, baby. Looking forward to it. And then the show ended with the HOH competition in progress. It was The Wall. Woo! Okay, so I just want to say, Julie, it took more than a second for the live feeds to come on after the show was over. Okay, I mean, she just really emphasized it's only going to be a second until the live feeds come on. So anyway, when they did come back, all the house guests were still hanging on. Good for them. I just have to say, I love this haunted house set so much. It looked amazing. And Big Brother was really putting the house guests through it. The wall is leaning. They've got creepy clowns staring at them from the sidelines. They got more rain pouring down, washing away their dreams or whatever. Ghosts flying at them. And then they also had this really cold fog blasted out behind them, and it scared the crap out of them. And Christy kept saying, "It feels like I'm being stabbed in the back. Does anyone else feel that?" So apparently it was pretty powerful. It looked powerful. So at 7:16 p.m., Jess starts Tamaring. So if you guys watched the last season of Celebrity Big Brother, how could you ever forget Tamar, right? In their wall competition where she wanted to get down, but she was afraid to let go because she had a fear of heights. And she was like, ah, ah! And then she let out her final pterodactyl scream when she decided it was time to jump. And she was like, ah! It was one of my all-time favorite moments. So Jess is in a similar situation. She's ready to drop, but she's really afraid that she's going to hurt herself by falling. So after some coaching by the other house guests, and I think even production must have come over the loudspeaker while the feeds were on Fish and told her what to do, finally Jess jumps and she lets out an epic scream. She's like, ah! It was so amazing. I'm not gonna lie, I had to watch it multiple times. Not for the fall, but for the scream. So she took her time getting back up off of the mat, because it was a pretty hard fall on her side, and I think it really knocked the wind out of her, so she was pretty freaked out by that. But don't worry, she's okay, even though she talked about it over and over and over again throughout the evening. Okay, she's okay. So then at 7:33 p.m., Cliff can't take any more of this. He jumps down and he bends his knees as he lands. That is the correct landing position. I gotta give him respect for lasting as long as he did. He was up there for what, 40 something minutes, so good for him. And then Christy jumped off less than a minute later. Did she throw it? I almost feel like she did, because she didn't seem to really be struggling before she jumped down. It was kind of weird. So I don't know if she threw it or what. But that means that it's down to Nicole, Tommy, and Jackson. So they were hanging on for a little while before anything else really happened. But then at 7:41 p.m., Nicole falls down. Oh, she was really upset and crying. I think she did great considering just the day before she slipped and had a really nasty fall in the house and she hurt her tailbone. So that's a really difficult competition on your back. So I'm surprised she lasted as long as she did with that injury. But everybody's telling her, you did so great, you did amazing, but she's still really upset. So now we are down to our final two, Tommy versus Jackson. And Jackson is looking solid. Tommy, on the other hand, he's got a big booty. And I don't think it helps in this competition to have a big booty, because it's gonna mess up your back and then your grip is all weird. Also, it seems like Tommy was having a hard time finding a comfortable position, like with his arms, because he is on the shorter side and he couldn't find a good grip. So he was really shaking. He was really breathing loudly for a while. And Cliff and Holly are on the sidelines saying, oh my God, I hope Jackson can pull out another win, because they're not sure what Tommy would do if he were to win HOH. So Jackson, of course, is feeling super uncomfortable, but he loves that. And he yells out, I love being uncomfortable. We know. Okay, so Tommy fell down at 7:48 p.m. And I believe Jackson told him before that he's good. He's not going to be going up this week. So Jackson wins his second HOH competition, which means he and Holly went back to back to back in HOH competitions. And that doesn't even include the POVs, because he's won a handful of power vetoes now as well. So this competition lasted a little under an hour. It's kind of short in terms of wall competitions, right? But whatever, we'll take it. So it's just weird, because I thought Jackson was so confident and he was going to throw this HOH competition, but now he's got to make some moves. Okay, so the feeds come back. They were down for just like a few minutes while everybody was going back inside. So now Holly, Nicole, and Jackson are in the hallway, and Jackson says, I did not want to win that one. He says he won it for Nicole and Cliff because he feels like Tommy would have put them up, and he didn't want that to happen. So Nicole's getting upset again because she really wanted to be able to win this for the team, to do something for them, and she knows that Jackson didn't want to win this, and she's just feeling bad about herself. So they're telling her, no, you're fine. Next week is probably going to be a mental competition, and that's something that you can really excel in. So they're trying to look at the silver lining here for her. So then they move to the RV room with Cliff, and Jackson says, yo, we've got a final four. I did not want to risk you guys going up. He keeps saying that he didn't want to win this, but he won it for them. Keep reminding them. And he says, I don't know if we're going to have another physical competition like that for the rest of the season. So he's got to win while he can. Bingo! That's another reason that Jackson wanted to win. He's feeling like this was probably their last endurance comp like that. I feel like part one of the final HOH might also be endurance, but I don't know. They could mix it up. Who knows? So yeah, he wanted to win this competition because he doesn't know when he's going to win another one. That is another big reason for him. Okay, so then Nicole and Cliff were alone, and she's really upset because she wanted to see her family. She wanted to contribute to the team, and Cliff is telling her, don't worry about that. There's going to be more chances for you to do something for the team, and you know what? Jackson winning this is still going to work for us because we're working with him. He's not going to want to put us up. And it puts a bigger target on his back because he won another competition. So Nicole's like, I know, it just still sucks. Okay, so then Jackson and Cliff were talking in the Target bedroom. And Jackson is saying, I was planning on throwing it to Nicole, but she fell before Tommy, so then I had to win it. I think he would have thrown it to Nicole because he wants Nicole and Cliff to take shots at Tommy and Christie. So yeah, I think he definitely would have thrown it to her, but it didn't work out that way. So Jackson says, I don't think it's smart for our games, me and you, to take out Tommy, because then we're going to be the only two guys left. And Jackson says he's planning on nominating Christie and Jess, and he'll spin it with Christie and say that she's a pawn. His reason for Jess, I guess he'll say that she's made it known that she's going after guys, so obviously he feels threatened by that. He doesn't say who the target is yet, but he says we're going to win that veto and get one of them out. Okay. Jackson was also talking about how he is terrified now because he's not going to be able to play in the next HOH competition. True. And it's finally the double eviction. But they don't even know that. I'm sure if he knew that, he would really be freaking out. But Jackson also says he's worried that his target is getting bigger with all these wins. And he says it like over and over and over again. And Cliff is like, yo, it doesn't matter at this point. You have already shown that you're a comp beast. You know, what's the difference? I have to agree. I mean, cat's out of the bag already. And I think a player like Jackson, at this point, you got to win as many competitions as you can, because you're a huge target already. And if he does make it to the final two, you're going to want to be able to have as many competition wins as you can on your resume, I think. Okay, so then Cliff is telling him also, like, you had to win that, because we don't know who Tommy would have put up. He could have put up you and Holly for all we know. Okay, so then Jackson was talking to Christie while she was in the shower, and he says, I want to put you up as a pawn this week. And she's like, what? Why me? And he says, it's going to be against Jess, and you're not going to go home, so you don't have to worry. So he's saying, I want to make it look like we're not working together and that our deal is done. This will really help cover that up. And he's going to make sure that all the votes are in place for her to stay. Damn, he moves fast already having these conversations. So Christie is not totally into the plan. Duh, do we really think she would be? This would be her 4th time on the block in a row. So Jackson says Jess is a really strong mental threat. Once she's gone, you can win all of the mental competitions. Cliff might have something to say about that. I don't know. Nicole might have something to say about that. But Jackson says, we'll talk about it more later, but I just wanted to give you a heads up. So he keeps reassuring Christie she's going to be safe this week, even if she goes up on the block. Okay, so then Jackson was talking to Cliff in the boat lounge. And he's saying again that he's thinking about putting up Christie and Jess. So this time, Cliff asks, who's the target? You know, who do you want to get out between the two of them? And Jackson says, it's Jess. Oh my god! So this flop took out Sis on his first HOH. And now he's planning to take out Jess. When you still have Christie and Tommy in the house, what are you doing? So Jackson says that Jess has made it clear that she is targeting guys. He thinks that Jess will do better in mental competitions than Christie and him, obviously. So he's really scared of her. I have to disagree with the mental competitions thing, because there are different kinds of mental competitions. I think if it's anything to do with the days and events of the season, I think Christie has a much better grasp of all that than Jess. I don't think Jess has been studying as hard. If it's just some sort of like on the spot memorization thing, then yeah, maybe Jess would be better. But I mean, how many competitions are they going to have like that? We're getting late into the game here. They're going to start having more of the days type competitions. And if you think about it too, a lot of times those competitions have some sort of physical element included in there. And I think Christie has proven to be a better physical competitor than Jess. So I still think that Christie is the bigger comp threat, even in mental competitions, than Jess. I think Jess is good in a really specific type, but this is what Jackson's saying. I think there are other reasons that he wants Jess out over Christie. So Jackson's saying that he and Holly both struggle in mental comps, and he would rather go up against Christie. He would feel like he'd have a better shot at winning against her. If you say so. So Jackson says there's also some uncertainty about who Christie would put up, whereas they know, or at least they think they know, that Jess would put the two of them up. Okay. So Jackson's also saying that he feels like he can spin it with Christie, that she's just a pawn. Hopefully she won't be super mad at him next week. And Cliff's like, yeah, I get the nominations, sure. But at what point do you tell Christie that she's a pawn? And Jackson's like, I just told her. So he says I feel like the sooner I tell Christie, the more comfortable she's gonna feel. Maybe she won't play as hard in the power veto competition. Maybe she won't be as mad at me for putting her up as a pawn. So then Jackson is saying that Tommy and Christie can go up next week. Yeah, when he's not HOH, he wants somebody else to do it because Jackson is trying to play the middle with Tommy and Christie on one side and Nicole and Cliff on the other, and then he expects the other two duos to go after each other while Jackson and Holly just sit back. But the funny thing is, I'm pretty sure that Tommy and Christie would target Jackson next week, not the other side. Okay, so then Cliff is dropping, Christie said in her campaigning last week that she's a free agent now, and she was saying that you and Holly are threats. So you can tell here, Cliff is not totally on board with Jess being the target this week. He's trying to be like, hey, don't you think maybe you should take another look at Christie because you might not be as safe with her as you think. But he's trying to be subtle about it. So Cliff mentions he's also worried about Tommy. He doesn't know what Tommy would do if he won HOH. But Jackson keeps pushing, no, the guys have to stick together. And we can't have Jess and Christie in this house together. If they got rid of Tommy this week, that means they would have Jess still in the house, no Tommy. They would be the only two guys, and Jackson thinks that she would put the both of them up. Okay, so then Jackson confirms later in a quick conversation with Holly that, yeah, he wants them to be in the middle between the other two duos. Let them take shots at each other. That's a great strategy for some people, but I don't think that's gonna work for Jackson and Holly because they are the power couple. Out of the three duos that are in the house right now, they are the power couple. And that type of couple is just not built to play the middle like that, right? I feel like you need to be less of a threat to be playing the middle. But Jackson also drops to Holly that he has no intention of putting up Tommy ever, like even beyond this week. What if it's like down to it? I guess at that point you would say bye to Tommy, but I don't know. So there was lots of chilling out with the final 7 last night, just having a good time, lots of backgammon. And then Jackson got his HOH room at 11:45 p.m. So just like last time, there were lots of watermelons spread all throughout the room. He got 10 watermelons. 5 big ones and 5 of the smaller kind. He got family photos, including one of his grandma, a watermelon hat, sunflower seeds, poo-pourri, more jerky, more Quest bars, Nutella. His music was Culture 2 by Migos, and his letter was from his mommy. He got a little bit choked up reading it. So she told him, everyone's cheering you on. Okay. So then Cliff and Nicole had a game chat a little while later, and Nicole is talking about how she still feels really bad, she's not contributing, and again, Cliff is like, don't worry about it, you can help out later on, it's all good. So he lets her know Jackson's plan, which is to put up Christie and Jess, and he says Jess would be Jackson's target. And Cliff says, that's not really my preference, but Jackson keeps saying that he's worried about Jess targeting the guys, and that is a huge concern for him. So Nicole is like, what if Tommy won the veto and used it on Christie? Well, I guess Cliff or Nicole would have to go up, right? Because Jackson's not going to put up Holly. So she's worried that Jackson and Holly also have some sort of Final Four deal with Christie and Tommy, and maybe they're playing the middle between the two duos. Yeah, pretty much. Cliff says, I thought about that too, but he feels that Jackson and Holly would rather go to the end with them because they would be a lot easier to beat in those final competitions. Yeah, so they both say that if they won HOH this week, they would want to target Christie. So I think they're still holding on to that dream. And they're going to see what happens with this power veto. And if maybe Jess could win, then they could take out Christie. So, or maybe they could still convince Jackson that Christie should be the one to go. So then Jackson joins them with some freshly cut watermelon. And he explains his reasoning to Nicole for why he wants to put up Jess and Christie. He's like, they both scare me. But Jess does really well under pressure, in competitions, but Christie crumbles. And Jess has made it clear that she's going after males, which is funny because even if Jess was definitely going to put up 2 guys, Christie is specifically targeting Jackson, but he's not picking up on that. So Cliff says, I understand the nominations, but I'm not totally sold on the target this week. You know, he says he keeps going back and forth between Jess and Christie, which means he wants it to be Christie. There is no back and forth. So then Jackson is telling them, okay, well, if Tommy wins, or sorry, if one of them wins the veto, Tommy will go up as the replacement nominee, and then we'll just get rid of whichever girl is left up there. So then Nicole's like, okay, but what if Tommy wins the power veto? He might use it on Christie. And Jackson's like, no, Tommy will probably leave the nominations the same as long as it's clear that Jess is the target. Would he though? So he says, I'll have to really push the guy thing with Tommy that we all need to stick together. Okay, so then Nicole also brings up, hey, if Christie survives the block this week, that's going to be 4 weeks in a row. And it's going to be one hell of an argument that she'll be able to make if she makes it to the final 2. Right? So Jackson is more concerned with his jalapeno beef jerky that he was trying while Nicole was talking about this. So he made her even try some. She does not like spicy food, but she tried it anyway, and she did not get an answer about this whole, like, should we be letting Christie survive the block 4 weeks in a row? Okay, so then Jackson says, if worse comes to worse, and one of you guys has to go up as a pawn, we'll still have the votes because you only need 2 votes and then the HOH to break the tie. So we have you guys, we got Holly, we're gonna be fine. So Cliff says, all right, I don't wanna say that I'm volunteering to go up as a pawn because we all know that weird stuff can happen when people volunteer to go up as pawns, but he will understand if he needs to go up as the replacement nominee this week. He says he's willing to do his part to help the group. So then Jackson's like, okay, well, should we think about backdooring Jess? Should we do that? And Cliff says, no, because she's probably gonna play in the power veto competition anyway, and it's really risky because say you put up Christie and not Jess. Say you put up Christie and Cliff. What happens if Jess wins the power veto and uses it on Christie? Ugh, who's gonna go then? So this is a no-go. It's not gonna happen. They have to put up Jess and Christie from the get-go. So they talk about the same stuff with Holly when she joins them, and there are no changes to that plan. Okay, meanwhile, Tommy and Christie are chatting downstairs in the RV room, and they agree they have to win the next HOH competition. I think they're gonna be even more motivated when they find out about the double eviction. But Christie is saying, I'm so tired of being on the block, and she figures, I guess I'm gonna have to kiss Jackson and Holly's asses this week. She's gonna have to pretend like she's cool with being a pawn, but she is totally not. Christie's also kind of nervous that Cliff is gonna tell Jackson and Holly how she was talking about targeting them when she was campaigning to Cliff last week. Ooh, that could be big trouble for her. I mean, we already saw that Cliff mentioned that she was saying that she's a free agent and that Jackson and Holly are threats, but it doesn't seem like they were too shook up by that. So then Christie is asking Tommy, what's gonna happen if Jess wins the power veto? Who's gonna go up? And Tommy's like, I don't think it's gonna be me because Jackson promised me that I'm good during the HOH competition. So then Christie's like, ideally, I would like for you to win the power veto and use it on me, and then we can both be safe this week. And they think maybe they would have a shot at taking out Cliff or Nicole. I don't think the votes would be there, but they're hoping they would. So then Christie says next week, Jackson and Holly are gonna have to go up against each other. They're gonna have to. And I could totally see Christie doing it, but would Tommy follow through? I'm not so sure. He could do what he said he was planning on doing this week, which would be to put up Jackson and Nicole, because he doesn't want to mess around with his relationship with Holly. So I could see him potentially doing something like that, but I don't think he would be bold enough to put up Jackson and Holly. So then, speaking of, Jackson and Holly talked alone, and I mean, a lot of it was all just the same stuff about the plan for the week that we've already heard a million times. And then they were saying they have to be really careful about playing the middle. They feel like they're in a really good spot right now, but it is a delicate balance. They want to make sure they don't use the phrase Final Four when they're talking with Tommy and Christie, because what if the two duos compare notes? They're going to be in a lot of trouble. And also, if they say they're in a Final Four with Tommy and Christie and then they go back on that, they could potentially lose their jury votes. So they're like, we need to be really careful about how we talk to Tommy and Christie this week. They already shook hands with Cliff and Nicole. That is their true Final Four. They're just trying to get some extra insurance here. Okay, so then today, Jackson was trying to figure out, he still has the same plan. He wants to put up Christie and Jess, but now he's trying to figure out what he's gonna say to Jess. He's worried that she might freak out about going up, and he feels awkward because Jess is really calm and relaxed, and it seems like she has no idea that she could even potentially be going up on the block this week. So he's afraid of what her reaction is gonna be. So he's wondering, do I tell her that Christie's my target so she'll stay calm? But then what if that gets back to Christie? She's gonna start freaking out. He also doesn't want to bring up the whole gender thing in his nomination speech about how Jess wants to put up guys, so he would put her up. He's afraid that that's gonna be spun in some way and it's gonna make him look bad to America. Okay, so then Christie goes up to the HOH room to talk to Jackson and Holly, and just like she told Tommy, she is playing along and kissing their asses. She's talking about how she's not even gonna ask why Cliff and Nicole are not going up because she agreed to go up as a pawn as part of her campaign to stay 2 weeks ago. So she's gonna do what she's gotta do and, you know, do what they want. So Jackson asks Christie to please not tell Jess that she's the target this week because he doesn't need her freaking out. So Christie says 100 million%. That's not a real thing. But Jackson's telling her also, it's gonna look really weird if you don't go up on the block. People are gonna suspect that we have some sort of deal going on. So this really is the best move. So Christie is playing along and she says, yes, I get it. I hate to admit it, but I get it. And then she's asking what happens if Jess wins the veto. And Jackson says he'll probably put up Cliff. So Christie's like, okay, would I have the votes against him? Jackson says, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Let's not even put it out in the universe. Let's not manifest that. That's a big no. That's a big, you're going home if Jess comes down. So Jackson's telling Christie, I'd be cool with you winning the power veto. That's totally fine. I just don't want Jess to come down because she is the target. And that is true. Okay, so eventually Tommy joins them and Jackson gets him up to speed on the plan. And again, Jackson's telling Tommy, if you win the veto and you want to use it on Christie, go for it. That's totally fine. I'll put up Cliff. No worries. Which is true. That is his plan. He feels like Cliff would be safe. So Christie and Holly leave after a few minutes because they don't want it to look sus with all four of them talking together. So Jackson's telling Tommy, just between you and me, I don't want Cliff to go this week. You know, I don't want it to come down to that. And Tommy agrees because the boys gotta stay together. So then Tommy is also acting like he's on board with the plan, but of course we know he is not. He would much prefer either Cliff or Nicole to go this week. But Jackson's all like, chestnut checkers, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. That's one of his new things that he keeps saying, that there's a light at the end of the tunnel and it keeps getting brighter and bigger, etc., etc. And he says we need Jess to go. Okay, so then Jackson and Jess have their one-on-one conversation. And Jackson says, at this point, I am looking at who can help me, who can hurt me moving forward. And he's got to figure out who has strengths where he has weaknesses. So he says, I'm going to be straightforward with you. I am pretty much like considering putting you up with Christie. And he says, this doesn't mean that I'm coming after you, but he is. He just feels like they're going to be doing a lot of memory and mental competitions in the next few weeks, and he is terrified to go up against her and Christie in those competitions, and just says, really? She is surprised to hear him say this, and Jackson says, yeah, you two are the biggest mental threats in those kind of competitions. And Jess is like, I don't see it. But Jackson keeps saying that he feels like he would lose to both of them in mental comps. But I love you. He keeps saying, I love you in this house. I love you on a personal level, blah, blah, blah. He's trying to lay it on thick. But Jess says she's a little bit disappointed on a game level because she feels like she's always been a number for Jackson. She's always been honest and straightforward with him. And she says she understands where he's coming from, sort of. But she also feels like she's not some huge competition threat. And she's not against him. She says she would always be a number for him. She says she already got rid of the person that she wanted to get rid of, meaning Jack. And she's basically like, I'm not trying to get rid of anybody else. I'm just trying to be loyal. Why are you there? Okay, so yeah, that's it. That's where we're at right now. Nominations will be happening later today. I'm guessing it will be Jess and Christie going up on the block. But if you guys want to check back later to confirm that, we will post the nominees in the info box below. Yeah, Power Veto competition tomorrow. A lot of speculation if it's going to be, they're thinking either BB Comics or Hide and Go Veto. And Cliff and Jackson have been going around the house with each other and like picking out potential hiding spots so that they won't pick each other's. I hate when people like set things up for this kind of competition. Just do your own thing. Oh my god. I don't like that. But anyway, it might not even be that competition. So let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, much love.